Miami got their first shot at closing out the C's Wednesday night. For LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, a chance to shake the bullies from Boston, who eliminated both stars last season, and check off another box on the to-do list they established when they teamed up last summer. Perhaps, too, the end of an era for Boston and Shaquille O'Neal, who was inactive for Game 5 because of that lingering Achilles and calf injury. Chris Bosh, the big tip in Game 4 for Miami. Rajon Rondo dealing with that dislocated elbow, but giving it a go, and Rondo finds Kevin Garnett for the tip there. Garnett had 12 points in the first quarter.
Yeah, he had a great start for the Boston Celtics. He's really set the tone, and you can see by they started off with a 24-16 lead in the first quarter.
Dwayne Wade making things happen here. Here's the whistle, flips it up and in. Made the free throw as well. 5-point game. The Heat down 8 points after one. Second quarter, Celtics in transition. Delonte West to Paul Pierce and one.
And you talked right here, beautiful feed from Ray Allen down to Rajon Rondo. Only one hand here, but check out the reverse pivot, the finger roll, and the finish. Nice read by Ray Allen. And Ray wasn't done. Here he knocks down a three-pointer. And I tell you what, that first half, Boston offensively got it going. And KG looks like he's a little bit upset there, Matt Weiner.
Absolutely. Double fouls here as Wade and Garnett
give me that.
Get tangled up. Wade with the block on Garnett.
Is that a block or a...
You can tell he's not a block.
Well, it's not really a
deflection.
It's a deflection.
Big-time deflection.
Quarter winding down. It's Wade
bucket.
hitting the jumper. 23 points at the half for Dwayne Wade. Boston up by 2. Third quarter, Pat Riley receives his co-executive of the year award. Third quarter, it's Paul Pierce picking up his 4th foul, trying to box out LeBron James. At one point had to tell Doc Rivers, no, I want to stay in the game.
And, you know, this is a big part of the game, too, because really Paul Pierce never got into a great rhythm here. He knocks down the three-pointer, but because of the foul trouble, you know, his minutes were diminished in this game.
And Boston led most of the way. Watch Pierce falling down in transition.
His footing wasn't good either.
No, it wasn't.
Nice play by LeBron James.
He hits the floater. It's a 2-point game. Heat in transition. Kevin Garnett, that's a block.
This is a great sequence here.
Guess what? Here comes Chris Bosh.
And that's a block.
Let me have that. Good basketball on both ends.
That was more like a handoff in football right there by Juwan. Juwan kind of handed that one.
5 blocks for the Celtics, 3 for the Heat on the night. Everybody fired up. Dwayne Wade puts it on the floor, splits the D, and finishes. 34 points, 10 boards, and 5 assists.
Said, split the defenders, and then ended it with a dunk.
And we're tied at 71. Well, Rondo, Jermaine O'Neal.
Went off the air.
Wow.
That's yoga. They were doing yoga classes.
Oh, okay.
Sums up the state of the Celtics in this game. Ray Allen to Delonte West here after the turnover. The Boston bench outscored the Heats 33-12. Boston still up by 5. Garnett from
Very nice move.
The runner. They're up by 6.
You thought Boston had this game kind of in control, but the Heat, they came back. This was a big 3 by James Jones. I think this is his only bucket of the game.
Yeah, first and only of the night, and they're within 2. Off the pick and roll, LeBron to Chris Bosh for the dunk. He had 14 and 11. Game tied at 87. After a Pierce miss, they go to LeBron on the wing, and he knocks down a huge 3. Miami up by 3. Celtics in transition, turnover.
And this has been a theme for the Celtics. Down the stretch, late in games against the Heat, they have not been able to make the plays, but LeBron James has been making plays for the Heat.
He hit their final 10 points as the Heat score the game's final 16. Little punctuation here.
Kind of paused and looked back, didn't he?
A little bit.
I thought he was doing a Cupid shuffle.
And they enjoyed it. They enjoyed every last second of it as the Heat eliminate the Celtics in 5. Little Chicago hug there.
Little Chicago hug.
Dwayne Wade, and a good luck in the conference finals for the Miami Heat. They're back for the first time since 2006, their championship season. 81 for Miami's Big 3 on the night as they become the second team into the Final Four. Afterward, LeBron tried to explain the emotions that came out.
You know, everything I went through this summer with, with the decision and deciding to come down here to be a part of this team because I I knew how important team is to the sport. It's not about an individual, and everything, all the backlash I got from it. I mean, everything. The talks me and D Wade had. I'd be up here for 2 hours if I tell you exactly everything that went through my head. But we're just very emotional at that point. And I'm happy that we got through it as a team.
I think the regular season was an attest to that because, we had an abnormal regular season just as far as attention is concerned, and we drew a lot of criticism and we drew a lot of Heat haters out there. But, that was to be expected. We weathered the storm after that, and we just kept playing basketball. We didn't let anything affect us, and now, just to this point, going through all those emotions, we're able to sustain it. We don't get too high, we don't get too low. We just keep playing basketball no matter what happens and stay together.
Great team win. So many different guys stepped up, and they obviously won't get talked about, but James Jones, big three. Joel Anthony rebounding. Chris Bosh, big move to tie the game up on a strong finish. There's so many different guys that stepped up and helped us win this game.
Dwayne Wade trying to give credit to his teammates there, obviously, but we saw in this series and throughout the regular season what the Miami Heat had in mind when they made the blockbuster signings last summer to bring the big three together. And over the course of the regular season and into the postseason, we've seen times when they've sort of traded off who was going to take over at a particular time. In the first half, it was Wade really keeping Miami in this game.
And Smitty, we talked about this. Basketball is the one sport where one player has more impact than any other team sport. And when you got two of the 3 or 4 best players in the game, one guy can carry you, not just for a game, but sometimes for a half. And that's what Dwayne Wade did in that first half. In a game where Boston brought the energy, they were getting after, they were making shots, doing everything they needed to do to survive and advance to a 6th game. Dwayne Wade said, and really took over this game. He was just all over the floor, 23 points in that first half, and he kept the Heat in the game, doing it on the defensive end, and then he hits the jump shot to close out that half, and then all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself, wow, the Heat are right where they want to be. Boston can't play any better, yet they're only up 2. And my sidekick, LeBron James, hadn't even gotten going yet. So you had to feel good, and that's the advantage you have when you have 2 guys like that who can, by themselves, totally take over a basketball game.
And then late, they handed off, and it was LeBron James finishing the game for the
and just what Greg said, you look at LeBron James and D Wade, their situation right now is one can excel because he doesn't have all the pressure. He has to make every play. He handed over the keys to Dwayne Wade. He took them back. With about 2 minutes left, and he just put the closing dagger to the Boston Celtics. That big three was huge, but this one was just one-on-one versus Paul Pierce. Very good defense, and guess what? That was that statement three-point shot. Then to top it off, Matt, he gets this steal. Defensive plays, he looks back, pause, dunks the basketball. He put on a complete show, and then you end it off with a nice little layup. 10 points, a 10-0 run for LeBron James, 16-0 run for the Miami Heat. What a closeout situation, LeBron James. They had some struggles throughout the year. Who was going to close? They didn't close well. And so far in this playoffs, they're doing an excellent job.
They're the raw numbers from that 16-0 finish as the Heat go 6 of 8 from the field and hit all 3 of their threes. And Doc Rivers said after the game, it was interesting, sometimes the notion of a bad shot changes when there's a superstar changing it, taking it rather, and knocking it down. And suddenly,
bad shot. It goes in. Good shot.
It looks like a good shot.
Looks good.
That happened a lot to the Miami Heat. And they're moving on to the conference finals.